Hey everyone, today we are at an amusement park in Charlotte, North Carolina. Unfortunately, we're not here to ride rides or anything like that. We are picking up a JCB Excavator. So I guess they were using it for some work down here. Now it is going home. So we're picking it up here from Charlotte and taking it up to Carroll, Ohio. So let's quit wasting time. Traffic's gonna be bad coming out of Charlotte if we don't get this thing loaded up and get out of here. So let's get to work. All right, guys, I think we got it pretty good here. Looks pretty good. I think we look even. Take a look from back here. I think that looks pretty good. So let's get backed up to the trailer, get it lifted up and get some air into the trailer and see where our weights are. I think we'll be pretty much spot on right there. This one's it's very similar to the last one I hauled. It's a little lighter, about 3,000 pounds lighter. So this excavator, it's a JCB 245 XR. The specs on the website say it's about 62,000 pounds. So at 62,000, that'll put us at about 108,000. We permitted for 110 to give ourselves a little wiggle room, but I think with it positioned there, it should be pretty much spot on. So for Virginia and West Virginia, we are shooting for about 44,000, maybe a little less than 44,000 on our drives. I already have the kingpin set at 15 inches, which will put our steer just about right. And then that should get us pretty light on our tridem, because West Virginia, they say they only give you 50,000. That position like that should put us at about 50 on the tridem. We permitted for 52 and they gave it to us no problem. So we should be covered either way. If it's a little bit heavier than 50, no problem. So let's get backed under it and get hooked up. Let's put some air to this thing and we'll see where we're at weight wise. All right, so that puts us at 73 on the drives. So let's go check and see what the trailer is. And I think I'm going to end up, unless it's real light back here, I'm going to end up scooting it forward a bit to get a little more weight on the drives, just because we have to go through West Virginia. We are at, yeah, see, we're at 68 back here. So yeah, I'm gonna scoot that forward a little bit. So I took it from that cross member up to that one. So that's about 2 feet further towards the front of the truck. Hopefully that'll put some more weight. I mean, it has to. It'll put some more weight up to the front. So now we're at right around 65, maybe a little under 65, which I think is about perfect. So now we'll go check the truck again and we'll see where we're at. I think we should be around 76 or 77, which will put us close to 44 on our drives. 76. So as you can see there at 76, I think the last load we pulled 78 put us at like 43.7. So 76, we're probably right around 43 there. So that'll be good. And 65 probably puts us right around 50 or 51. So I'm gonna call Jen. She has the spreadsheet. We'll check that, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty good right there. So let me call her, make sure we're good, and then we'll finish chaining this thing down. All right, so I called Jen, we double checked on the gauge pressures. We're about spot on. We're probably right around 43 on the drives and right around 50 or 51 on the tridem. So we're good to go there. I put a tape across the tracks and we're right at 10.6. I think we permitted for 10.10. So we're good to go. It's time to chain it down and get the heck out of here. Hey, if anybody from JCB is watching, your tie downs, excellent. Great size. I can get my grab hooks in there and they're up higher, so you're pulling down more instead of having like a flat chain, so it's just pulling front. This gets you a little angle, which I really like. So good job, JCB. Now I'm gonna try this a little different than I usually do it. I'm gonna try to go from that D-ring. We're gonna go up and over the side and put a chain down inside there, because technically I usually put 8 chains on it. Technically I only need 6, so I'm gonna try this, and then we'll have the 2 on the side, and that'll give me my 6, and we should be good. And that'll be actually a little more because they are indirect tie downs as opposed to direct, so you actually get the full working load limit of your chain and binder. I'll do that, and then that cross member should stop that from moving, pulling back, and then I can get kind of an angle going across it. It should be fine. There, I think that'll work pretty well. And you can see down in there, we got one on there. So I think it'll work. Let's go do the other side. Probably want to throw some bungees on that. There you can see they just hook right to the trailer there. So when tying stuff down, if you go 2 different types of tie downs, indirect and direct. This is a direct tie down. When you do a direct tie down, you get half of your working load limit on your chain and binder, which this chain is rated for 11,300 pounds, so you get roughly 5,500 pounds. You have to account for half of the weight of the machine when you tie down. So 4 of these at 5,500 pounds each, that's what, 22,000 pounds. So this weighs 62,000 pounds. So we're still 9,000 pounds short after our 4 corners. So these, because we're going from the trailer, because we went from that D-ring to the inside rail of the trailer, so it's going from the trailer over the equipment and then back to the trailer, we get the full working load limit of those chains, which are also 11,300. So we'll call it 11,000 times 2. So that gives us, you know, another 22,000 pounds. So in that, after we do that, then we're at 44,000. And then we also have our chain that will go over the boom, which is another indirect tie down, and this chain is rated at well, the working load limit of the binder is 3,000. I'm sorry, 7,300. I think these chains are 66. 3/8 G70, I think is 6,600 pounds. So anyway, so plus that, then we're up over 50,000, which is way more than half of 62. So we're good on securement. So there's a little lesson in working load limits and indirect and direct tie downs and how you're supposed to tie equipment down. And there is a manual for all that. I forget what it's called, but it's pretty much I think it's called the Cargo Securement Manual. I think it's put out by the FMCSA, but it'll tell you exactly what you have to do to secure machines or lumber or whatever. That chain is long enough that I can get one of these binders on it. Okay, so luckily we were far enough forward I could actually get my hooks. We were far enough forward to actually get my hooks on here before it got bigger there. So we actually used a big chain and a big binder there because it was just easier to tie that down. So it is secure. Now I just got to do banners and flags. We already have our permit for North Carolina and West Virginia. Jen actually pulled those last night, or West Virginia last night, North Carolina this morning. So we had a guy in the West Virginia permit office that told us that if you want to pull a permit for the West Virginia Turnpike, it takes he told us that if you want to pull a permit for the West Virginia Turnpike, it takes 48 hours to get that permit. So for the last few weeks we've been seeing loads out of that go through West Virginia on the turnpike, and we've been passing them by because we thought, you know, no way we're waiting 48 hours for a permit. So we decided to take this one knowing that it would be a little while before we picked it up. And then so last night we pulled the permit early and it instant issued. So no wait for the permit at all. Got you a little dirty there. So yeah, no wait for the permit at all. So we already have our West Virginia permit. So no problem. Let's go put this exhaust cover up here. I like this JCB. It's built really nice. It's got a big exhaust on it, which is cool. It looks better than those little Cat. I hauled a Cat 325 down here, and it had a little bitty exhaust on it. Not that this probably needs a huge exhaust like this, but it does look cool. There we go. So if any of you guys out there operate equipment, you know, do you like the JCBs better than Volvos or Cats or Komatsus? Let me know. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Alright guys, I think that'll about do it. We got it chained down. Now we just got to get out of here and get as far as we can. I know the traffic coming out of Charlotte is going to be brutal, but we'll get through it and get on up the road. Right, we are finally out of all that traffic, I think. Hopefully we don't get back into it. I don't know. Google is showing a bunch of red and 77 north up here. Supposedly they're cleaning up trees on the side of the highway, so I don't know if we'll run into that or not. We're going to try to get up to, well, we are going to get up to Fancy Gap, to a hotel up there, just across the state line in Virginia. Exit 8. I stayed there once before. It's a decent hotel, but they have truck parking, so we'll stop there for the night. I have gotten a couple comments on the channel asking to talk about how I got into trucking and how I got into heavy haul, so I thought I'd touch on that briefly. So I was in boot camp right out of high school, went into the Navy. I was in the Navy for 6 years. I got out in 2007, and I got my real estate license when I got out of the Navy. I did electronics and computer work in the Navy, but by the time I got out, that stuff just wasn't paying very well. Unless you were super specialized and had certifications and everything, which I did not because I was just in the Navy. But I got out and I got my real estate license, but that was right around the 2008 housing market crash, so that didn't look very promising either. So I only did that for about 4 months. A lot of guys I talk to that drive come from a family of drivers. You know, their grandfather drove a truck and their dad drove a truck, and they got 3 uncles that drive trucks and their brothers all drive trucks. That is not the case for me. I don't have anybody in my family that drives truck, other than distant cousin and a family friend growing up was a trucker. But no immediate family driving or anything. It's just something I always liked. I was always interested in. I remember riding in a family friend's truck when I was a kid, and I liked doing that. So when real estate didn't pan out, I just decided, hey, I could go get my CDL. You know, that there's always a need for, truck drivers are like nurses. You know, there's always people hiring truckers. So I went to a truck driving school and got my CDL, and then I got my first job with Sigma, running reefer trailers, delivering to Wendy's and Texas Roadhouse and that kind of thing. That only lasted for a few months. And then I left there and I got a job with Old Dominion Freight Lines, pulling double trailers, and I worked there for about 6 years. And then I decided that I wanted to get my own truck. So I did a mountain of research and, you know, figured out what it would cost to run the truck and how much payments I could afford, and how much loads would pay, and really worked on that for months and months to figure out whether I could do it or not. And it looked, I knew it would be tight getting started, but it looked like I could do it. So I just went for it. I got a loan from the bank, a little help from my parents, and bought a truck, an old 2007 International 9400, and I bought a flatbed trailer. They were not the best equipment, but they were capable of hauling. It wasn't fast, it wasn't powerful, it wasn't fun to drive, but it got the job done. So that kind of got my foot in the door. I ended up buying another trailer, another flatbed when I could afford it, a newer one, a lot nicer, all aluminum flatbed, really light. And then later I put a tarping system on it, because I was hauling almost exclusively loads that needed tarp. It was a lot of aluminum and PVC molding, and you had to tarp all of it. So I did tarp, probably 5 years I spent tarping flatbed loads. But that's really hard work. So I got the Conestoga trailer with a tarping system, sliding tarping system on it. And then I got another truck. I bought a 2012 Kenworth, and I ran that truck for 4 years, I think. But while I was running that truck, I was really looking into full service leases, because I found, at least in my experience, the thing that gets you in trucking, that can get you in trouble in a hurry, is equipment failures, repair costs. And it's not even the cost of the repair that gets you, it's the downtime. Because if you're able to make $5,000 a week gross with your truck, and out of that you get to keep $1,500 or $2,000, then if your truck goes down, you still have your truck payments to make, you still have your trailer payments, you still have your insurance, no fuel, but then you're also paying for a repair. So if your truck goes down and all the shops are busy, and the quickest you can get it into a shop is 2 weeks, which that has happened to me, then you're down for that 2 weeks with nothing to do. You're not making any money, and you're still on the hook for all your expenses. And then it might take them a week to fix the truck if they can get parts right away. So that's another week down. So now you're looking at 3 weeks down, and then it's almost always a big repair bill. Heaven forbid it's an engine repair, because you're probably looking at anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 to $10,000. I had a couple repairs. I blew a turbo on my International, and then that same truck, it had a Cummins in it, but I ended up replacing the head on that truck, and that gets very pricey very quickly. So I say all that to say that I was really researching full service leases. So I went to my local Kenworth dealer and asked about full service lease, and ended up talking to Jay, the pack lease guy that services my location there in Carlisle. And over the course of a couple months, they did a credit check and kind of went over the spec I wanted for the truck. This first truck was very basic, just a PACCAR, 1650 torque, automated 13-speed transmission. At that time, I had traded my sliding tarping system on the flatbed in for a van trailer for, I think I ran van for about 18 years. I did not like it. But I used that truck with the van first. So I had that PACCAR truck, or that Kenworth T680. So, and then we get into how I got into heavy haul. So I had done reefer, full doubles. I had my hazmat certification from Dominion, my tanker certification. Then I ran flatbed, tarping loads. I ran some equipment with the flatbed, not a whole lot. And by the end of running flatbed, I didn't even carry chains with me because it install lumber and PVC and aluminum. So then I got the van trailer and I ran that for 18 months, just drive-in freight, which is easy, but bumping docks is not for me. You bump into a dock and then you sit there for hours just sitting in your truck. I couldn't stand it. I had to do something. So, right in the midst of COVID, we decided, I don't know if any of you guys remember, but during COVID, van trailers, you could not find van trailers for sale. So I was able to get a premium for my trailer, and that allowed me to trade it on a 2-axle RGN. I got a Talbot 30 ton, which needed some work, but I was able to trade that van for it. I had to go to North Dakota to get it, but we pulled it back home. I replaced some tires and got it on the road, inspected and everything, and then we started working that trailer. So I worked that trailer for about 2 years. And then we decided that we were going to upgrade. So watching the board and seeing all the loads that we couldn't pull because we couldn't go heavy. With that first pack lease truck, I wasn't allowed to go over 80,000 pounds. So we decided that we wanted a heavy spec truck. We were going to get a 3-axle RGN. So in October, our lease was up on the first truck. That was a 3-year lease. And then we got this truck, turned that truck in and picked this truck up, which is a T880 heavy spec 14,600 pound steer, 46,000 pound rears. It has a 565 Cummins and an 18 speed. And then the next month, beginning of the month of November, I went to Pittsview, Alabama, to the Pitts factory there and picked up my brand new 55-ton Pitts RGN. So that's in November, and anybody who runs lowboy RGN freight knows that wintertime is the crap time for RGN freight. So I knew it was going to suck over the winter, and we just had to hold on and get the spring. So luckily we sold my old trailer. That gave us some money in the bank, and we were able to kind of pull on that when we needed to get through the winter. But now we are set up. Spring, freight's starting to move. We're starting to make some money with this setup. So that's pretty much how I got into it. Just a lot of pure stubbornness and willpower and trying to be smart about the decisions I made. I will say that leasing a full service lease has really worked out well for us. It just takes a lot of the stress out of owning a truck, because when you own your own equipment, you never know when something's going to break. Now I'm still on the hook for the trailer. I got to take care of it and repair it when it needs it. But a trailer is far simpler than a truck. Tires, brakes, as long as you service everything, that should be all you got to worry about for a good long while. This trailer has a 10-year warranty on it, so if anything does break, it's covered. And then with the full service lease, they take care of everything: tires, oil changes, any repairs that need done, they take care of it. So it has worked out really well for us. There's a little bit of my backstory, how I got into trucking, how I got into heavy haul, and kind of my experience in the industry. So I've touched just about every type of driving, I think, other than tanker or dry bulk or something like that. But other than that, I've done a lot of what's out there. So I have about 17 years in behind the wheel, and I figure I've probably done, I don't know, somewhere close to 3 million miles. But it's just, especially when you're doing it on your own. My wife and I own the company, and it's just the two of us. So when you're doing it on your own and you know, it just takes a long time to get built up, to get nice equipment and get the setup that you want. But you know, 10 years ago when we started the business, this was my dream, was to have this kind of setup, an RGN trailer and a heavy spec truck, and now I'm doing it. So yeah, I couldn't be happier with what I'm doing. As far as the future goes, I have this lease for 4 years with this truck, so I will be in this truck for 4 years. The trailer I have is brand new. You know, it was built just about 6 months ago. I picked it up, so I should be good with the trailer for a while. The truck's taken care of for 4 years, so now we just got to run them and make some money, and we'll see where that takes us. I don't want to, you know, I'm always looking at trucks and new technology and what I want to do next, but I don't know. I'm kind of leaning toward going back to a 13-liter engine. I think the fuel mileage would be better, and I will say that I spent 3 years driving an automated transmission, and by the time I got this truck, I was ready to drive a manual again. But after about 6 months of driving this manual transmission, I think I'm ready to go back to an automated. So it's not that I hate it. I mean, it's fun shifting, but just the simple, just put it into gear and drive with an automated is I definitely like that. So maybe the next truck will be a 13-liter with an automated transmission, 18-speed automated transmission. I don't know. Just have to see where it takes us. But there's a little rundown on my history. Yeah, we're gonna head up just across the Virginia state line and get to the hotel for the night. So I will talk to you then. All right, so we are finally out of that traffic. I think there was a truck fire. They were just finishing the cleanup. Yeah, so I was stuck behind everything. We're pretty heavy and oversized, so I didn't want to get out in the left lane and pass anybody. So I just stayed in the right lane, and by the time I got up to where the accident was, they actually had it all cleaned up and everything was gone. But it looked like there was some cleanup, and it looked like there was a truck fire. So, well, that took a little less than an hour, about 50 minutes to get through that. But we are back on the road, back up to speed anyway. Got about a half an hour to go to the hotel, and then we will be done for the night. Alright guys, we're just getting here to the Motel 6. We're in Fancy Gap. Just gonna pull around to the back, get parked. Alright guys, that'll about do it for today. We're parked here at the Motel 6. We'll get a good night's sleep, get up, go back at it again tomorrow. So I will see you in the morning. Good morning everybody. It is right around 7 o'clock. We are headed out for the day. Get our day started by heading up 77 here up into Virginia. Got to make a stop for fuel this morning, so we'll stop in Withville and fuel up, grab a cup of coffee, and then we will continue on up through we'll stay on 77 through the rest of Virginia, and then we're going to go up through West Virginia on 77 till we hit 64, and then we're taking that across to 35 north up to the Ohio state line. So that's a route that I have never taken before, so we'll see what that's like. I'm sure it'll be pretty. You know, West Virginia is a beautiful state. Tons of mountains, and yeah, should be a pretty nice ride. We can get out of the hotel parking lot here. It is very tight getting out. There we go, we got it. Booked a load yet for our next load after we deliver this one. We do have some feelers out. See what we can find. There's a couple loads we called on that they wanted moved either yesterday or today that we wouldn't be able to get to until tomorrow morning. But we do have a bid in on a little bucket truck going right over to, I believe it's going to Harrisburg, which would be really nice for a decent rate. He said if they, so I guess the broker is bidding on that one as well. So he had the same idea we did about the rate on it. So if he gets it, then he'll give it to us. So we'll find out about that probably this morning. And then there was another load out of Bridgeport, West Virginia, going back real close to the house. But that guy wanted it moved either yesterday or today. We'll see what happens with that as the day progresses. And then there was a load, a big Volvo articulated dump truck going up to upstate New York out of Ohio. But they didn't want to, the rate was a little low, and they didn't want to put any more money on it. Yesterday, they didn't want to put more money on it, but it's still on the board today. So we'll see what happens with that. The problem with that one is that it's permits. It's picking up in Pennsylvania, going upstate New York, but I'd have to take the New York Thruway to get to where it's going. So then it's New York permit for the Thruway, and then you got to pay tolls on the Thruway all the way across. Well, I think it's over near Rochester, so it's a ways across the state on the turnpike. And that it adds up, especially when you're heavy. So we'll see what happens with those 3, and then there should be some new stuff posting this morning. I'm sure we'll get something. It's just a matter of time. We'll post something, get another load in this week. Anyway, for now, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We'll head up here to Withville, get some fuel, and then we will continue rolling through the mountains. Alright guys, we're all fueled up. I'm going to stick you on top of the excavator so you can get a view of the mountains as we go up through here. And we'll make our way towards Ohio. Alright guys, I'm going to apologize for the wind, but it is real windy out here. So, we got here to Company Wrench in Hillard, Ohio. So, let's get this thing offloaded.
All right, now we can get this bad boy unloaded. Wait, no more. All right, he says that's good. Alright guys, now that we're out of the wind, that's another one all done. You can see my empty trailer in the mirror. So that one's it. That was it for that one. Got that excavator delivered. Now I'm headed over to Muncie, Indiana. I'm gonna pick up another excavator and take it home. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for riding along with me. I hope you're enjoying the videos. If you are, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you later.